Revised horror story, Bus 37, The Lost Route. The storm did not simply arrive over Briar Hollow. It crawled in like a living thing, dragging its weight across the sky. Clouds folded over each other in thick, bruised layers. The trees tilted beneath the first blast of wind, as if bowing to something enormous approaching from beyond the ridgeline. Drivers later claimed the lightning that night didn't strike downward. It curled sideways across the clouds like veins. On the narrow forest road that wound through Pinewater Pass, school bus number 37 rumbled forward with its headlights dimmed by sheets of rain. Inside, the windows fogged over with the breath of children returning from a field trip cut short by the weather. Teachers whispered to each other, trying to stay calm, but fear leaked through their voices. The children sensed it and pressed close together, shivering each time the bus jolted on the slick asphalt. The driver did not speak. He didn't flinch when thunder cracked, so close it shook the bus. His hands gripped the wheel with a stiffness that seemed almost unnatural, as though they had grown there. His uniform was darker than what other school bus drivers wore, a deep red, almost brown in the dim aisles like dried blood. His collar was buttoned up to his jawline. A cap with the district badge sat low over his eyes, casting them into shadow. One teacher, Mrs. Hale, leaned forward at one point and thought she saw something wrong. The whites of his eyes weren't white at all, but an endless matte black, reflecting nothing. She blinked and tried to laugh it off as lightning glared on the glass. A burst of static ripped through the overhead speakers, making the children jump. They looked up at the antiquated PA system. Expecting an announcement from the driver, but he hadn't moved. His mouth was pressed in a straight line. His jaw didn't shift, not even slightly. Then his voice came from the speakers anyway, a broken metallic whisper, distorted like an old cassette recorded over too many times. Next stop. The vowels dragged long, as if the words were stretching themselves into something unrecognizable. Lightning lit the world in pure white for a single impossible moment, and bus number 37 disappeared. No skid marks, no shattered glass, no torn metal in the ditch below, just an empty, wet road stretching through the forest like nothing had ever passed through. Police searched until sunrise. The weather broke. The river levels dropped. The county even brought in helicopters. Nothing. The bus, every child, every adult, gone as if erased. For 20 years, Briar Hollow tried to forget. It failed. When the hikers found the bus, it was deep inside the oldest part of Pinewater Forest, an area locals avoided without knowing exactly why. Moss draped across the roof like thick green fur. Vines snaked through shattered windows. Tree roots curled over the tires as though holding the vehicle still. The hikers swore the bus hadn't been there the day before. The forest didn't change that fast. Yet something about the earth around it looked wrong. Disturbed soil, dragged lines, and footprints too small to belong to adults. They pushed the emergency door open, and the metal hinges shrieked like something waking up. Inside, rows of skeletons sat in their seats, perfectly arranged, facing forward. Some slumped toward the aisle. Others leaned against the windows, skulls twisted as if frozen mid-scream. Their mouths were sewn shut with long strands of human hair. Twisting, knotted, pulled tight so violently that some jawbones were cracked at the hinge. No insects moved among them. No mold touched the bones. Everything looked placed, preserved, curated for someone's return. The driver's seat was empty, but the driver's hat rested on the seat cushion, impossibly clean, untouched by 20 years of decay. A thin smear of wet mud rested beneath it. As if someone had just stepped out and would be back shortly. Investigators who reviewed the initial photos swore the rearview mirror captured something the hikers didn't see. A tall, unmoving, dark figure sitting in the driver's seat. But when they zoomed in, the image glitched into a blur of red and black pixels like an eye staring back. On the floor lay an old bus ticket, weathered but readable. Bus number 37, on the back in fading black ink. Next stop, the town tried to bury the discovery. Officials burned the photos and sealed reports. The bus was chained, fenced, and left to rot. But the story did not rot with it. It spread. In 2018, a 5-person documentary crew arrived, cameras and equipment packed tight in their van. Their plan was simple. Record a 60-minute investigative documentary about the urban legend of Bus 37. For some reason, the locals did not want to talk to them. People shut their doors. Some refused to acknowledge the event happened at all. Others said only one thing. Storm's tone felt like a warning. Her instinct screamed that something was off. Her director, Miles, only saw opportunity. He wanted a viral horror documentary. Jenna, the camerawoman, laughed it off as superstition. Eli, the sound tech, stayed unervingly quiet. And Dan, their hired survival guide, guided them to the forest edge with a deep frown. The air felt wrong that first evening. The wind stilled. The trees stood too straight. No animals stirred. No owls, no bugs, no distant rustling. Just a blanket of silence that pressed on their ears until a subtle ringing formed in their skulls. Then it began. Tap, tap, tap. Light, small, rhythmic knocking, like the fingertips of a child rapping on glass. Jenna rolled her eyes and blamed branches. Rosa didn't speak. She walked outside the tent line and felt the hairs on her arms rise like static had found her. On the ground, slid beneath the flap of her tent, was a bus ticket. Yellowed, worn, number 37, on the back. Next stop, campsite. Miles celebrated. This is exactly what we need. Rosa did not share his excitement. At dawn, Dan spotted tire tracks gouged into the mud. Wide, heavy, fresh. They followed them deeper into the woods. Rosa smelled something first, a mixture of old metal, damp fabric, and something like dry copper. When the bus came into view, shining clean in a beam of morning light, she stopped breathing. It was pristine, not moss-covered, not rotted, not broken. The same bus. Restored, waiting. The doors were wide open, as if expecting visitors. The interior smelled like mold, hair, dried blood, and something older, a thick scent like old books that had absorbed too many stories. Jenna lifted her camera for a wide shot. The bus doors slammed shut with a force that bent the hinges. Skeletons shifted in their seats. One skeletal arm slid off a lap and thumped onto the floor. The driver appeared in the aisle like a photograph developing, a tall, rigid figure wearing the immaculate blood-red uniform. His posture unbroken, his eyes black and endless, absorbing every shadow around him. He didn't move, didn't sway with the bus. He simply existed, as if the bus itself was breathing for him. Static hissed from the speakers above them. The same distorted, metallic voice crawled through the sound system. Next stop, you. Then the door creaked open again and the driver vanished. Miles nearly screamed with joy. "We got it! We got everything!" he shouted, reviewing the footage. Rosa pleaded to leave. The forest no longer felt like a place. It felt like a trap. That night, the storm rolled in. Identical to the one from 1998. The air metallic. The sky bruised purple. Clouds crawling, twisting, knotting like muscles under skin. Their radios crackled with children's laughter. Not playful, but warped like a scratched disc. Eli slapped the side of his receiver, but the laughter only grew louder. Small wet footprints appeared around the tents. Dozens. Children's feet. Bare. The sound came again. Tap, tap, tap. Except this time, it came from every direction at once, circling them. 2 headlights appeared between the trees, not on the road, but inside the forest, moving low, pushing branches aside with growling metallic force. The bus rolled toward them, carving its own path, headlights slicing through the dark like predatory eyes. Jenna stumbled, screamed, then shadows poured from the open bus door. Arms, dozens of them skeletal, claw-like, dragging her backward into the aisle. Her scream was cut off. The door slammed. The lights blinked out. The bus dissolved into the storm like smoke. Rosa, Miles, Eli, and Dan ran until their chests burned. They burst into an abandoned ranger station, collapsing on the rotting floor. Old case files littered the desks. Reports of disappearances every decade. Not always buses, sometimes cars, sometimes delivery trucks, once even a police cruiser. Always during storms. Always with the same final recorded message. Next stop. Footprints appeared across the dusty floor. Small, wet, moving toward them. Fingers knocked on the cracked glass windows. Tap, tap, tap. The bus rammed through the wall without needing space to fit. Wood splintered. Metal groaned. Eli was torn away, screaming. Dragged through the broken wall and into the maw of the storm. Rosa and Miles ran until their breaths were ragged. The storm followed like a creature made of cloud and wind. Branches snapped behind them. The bus's headlights blinked in and out of existence between the trees. Skeletal hands caught Miles first. Children climbed him like a living net, forcing cold fingers across his mouth to silence his screams. Rosa ran alone, sobbing. Until something yanked her backward, the storm itself pulling at her hair, dragging her toward unseen arms. Her screams dissolved into the thunder, and then silence. Weeks later, a teenage boy from Briar Hollow uploaded a strange, glitchy video he found near Pinewater Pass. The footage was chaotic, filled with static, screams, warped visuals, and shifting shadows. Commenters said it looked cursed, like something not meant to be watched. The final frame showed a bus ticket in the mud, number 37. On the back, written in fresh red ink. Next stop, your screen. The video ended abruptly, but the platform's autoplay did not stop. It kept going, the way it always does when the next video is cued. Except this time, the next video wasn't from the platform. It was this story, right here, the one you're reading. The screen didn't switch, it just changed passengers. A faint knock sounds behind your speakers. Tap, 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 as if someone or something is politely letting you know. You're already on the route, and bus 37 has just reached its next stop, asterisk, asterisk.